Talk Radio. You're in to all things music.
Making it for me is the music that I have inside to go not just worldwide, not just universal, but seriously multiversal. The vibrations to reach out and touch, just like, when they put up telescopes, they may see light. When they put up other things, they may hear the sounds from way off distant galaxies. May my music, may that positive intenseness bring someone to that light or their version of that light that I feel.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
Lord, getting hot up in here.
Welcome to the show, and thanks for tuning in. I want to let you know how much we appreciate you joining us every week. And if you missed last week's episode, you can hear it at entertalkradio.com/makingit or download our app and take us with you. So often, I get asked questions about the creative process, so I created this show to focus on what it takes to have a lasting career in the ever-changing landscape of the music and entertainment business. You're really in for a treat, as I've invited some of my friends who are the best and brightest in the music industry to share their stories on how they have influenced the music that has shaped our lives. I guarantee you're going to love it. So let's get started. My guest today is Ellis Hall. When it comes to music, Ellis Hall does it all. He's a seasoned and accomplished vocalist in possession of a powerful 5-octave range. He's a songwriter, arranger, producer, educator, and talented multi-instrumentalist. Ellis's first instrument was drums before he went on to master the piano, keyboards, guitar, and his favorites, electric and upright bass. Across a career spanning 40 years plus and counting, Ellis Hall has proven himself to be an all-around performer who has entertained audiences on 5 continents, sharing stages with giants ranging from James Taylor, Natalie Cole, Patti LaBelle, Toby Keith, to Herbie Hancock, George Benson, Bobby Womack, George Duke, and Sheila E. His reputation of excellence has earned Ellis the moniker the Ambassador of Soul. Please welcome my guest today, Ellis Hall. Welcome, brother.
Well, my brother, you said soul.
I sure did.
This is such a joy to be here and share this incredible moment with you, bro. I mean, you've asked me before, and we both have been traveling.
Yeah.
So the fact that I'm here, and today I didn't have to drive, so that's a good thing.
It's pretty great to see you. So let's jump in. You were named the Ambassador of Soul in 2010 by the conductor of the Rochester Symphony Orchestra, Jeff Tyzek.
Yes, indeed.
What does that title mean to you?
Well, it just kind of really culminates a lot of the things that I've been kind of feeling over the years as far as the singing, the playing, and understand that soul is not just about the fact of singing black artists' music. Soul is about the experience of taking even a country song and making it, well, in my case, Ellisizing it, or taking a rock tune and whether I have the blonde wig on or not, just making it feel like it's coming from the true heartfelt spirit. So I'm honored when he called me that, because I had been saying to a lot of different people, including him, well, I'm just doing my best to work on my ambassadorship. And a light obviously went on, and he said, yeah, that's it. You are the ambassador of soul. So, I'm honored to be this vessel. And what comes through this vessel is the heartfeltness of the spirit of song, the spirit of music, and I pray the spirit of life.
You know, Ellis, I've heard you say that you've made a commitment to play, sing, and perform as if it's your last time on earth.
That you've heard that from me many times.
And
yes,
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I know.
I followed. That's my path as well. Can you elaborate on that point of view?
Well, anytime I'm up there playing, and Bobby Womack and I used to talk about this all the time, making it feel so good that even if you're in the most worst or foulest of moods, changing, because music does have that ability to change your mind, whether you want it to or not. It's going to change your mind. Right. So I want to take that and enhance it. And, Bobby, I mentioned Bobby Womack, and I used to trade stories back and forth. But when I'd go into his room, I'd say, oh, man, let me hear what you talking about, what you do with Mr. Sam Cooke and all these other people. He said, no, Ellis, I want to hear what you talk about. So I tell all these different stories about, for instance, I had a acoustic guitar. And for some reason on this particular day, way back in the late 60s, we wanted to imitate Jimi Hendrix. So what do is we take that acoustic guitar, and after I'm playing and rolling all over the floor and trying to act like him, we set it on fire. I don't know what in the world, because after that was done, I didn't have no more guitar.
You used to have that guitar.
Used to have that guitar, but I got one soon after that. But I'll tell you, you had mentioned earlier bass. Bass is still, if you got to say a favorite, it's still one of my favorites to play. But whatever it takes, whether it's drums, back in school I was beatboxing way before beatboxing had a name. And I didn't have to mess up a mic or spit on the mic. So I'll be walking down the high school. I just thought it was my heartbeat.
Right. It kind of is your heartbeat. Yeah.
But, just the fun of celebrating and taking what music is delivered, be it a cover tune or what music rolls around inside my head. And there's a lot of music. God bless my manager / wife, because she used to deal with all these, you're making these strange noises. I said, well, I got a song going on. I can't help it. So we get together and actually start doing these strange noises and making things feel so good. And eventually a song comes out and it's like, oh yeah, that's that moment we were looking for.
Do you find, I'm asking because I know I do this, but when you've got a song that's starting to percolate, just starting to simmer in your belly, do you find that you just are walking around not talking to people, and sometimes perhaps maybe your wife is wondering what's on your mind?
All the time.
What's on your mind is a song.
No, and she's gotten, thank God, used to me walking down the house.
Right.
So all of a sudden it's like, hey, that feels pretty good. What do we do, with that? Or, writing a ballad, man, just placing your hands on a keyboard. Something comes out that you don't understand, but it feels so good. Oh yeah,
right.
Feels so good. That's that angst.
Yes.
The soul angst. Or you're rocking and rolling, or playing a guitar that has a little extra crunch in it. A rock guitar is like
Ellis, there was a conversation that you had with that I read in the Washington Times.
Yes.
Explaining that shakalaka
with the CH. That's right.
Means joyous. And also you've got this big old box of crayons that's the treasure trove of songs that you've stored in your heart for over 40 years.
Yes.
Tell me about your box of crayons and joy.
Well, I really started saying chakalaka back in the late 60s. I wasn't sure what kind of connotation, except I knew every time I said it. And it's so funny because the first time I heard something close to that was a DJ back in Boston. I think his name was Larry Justice. He had this thing called the Halls of Justice, and he used to say shakalaka all the time.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. So I said, man, but I'm feeling even more than that. How to make it more punchy? So I said, chakalaka,
there you go.
chakalaka. And so what happened was all my friends started calling me the chakalaka dude, and it just stuck. Even when I had the Ellis Hall groove, that famous chakalaka sound, serious groove. And walking down the halls of be it high school or being in different venues, and then taking that joyous sound and just expanding it, man, it just feels so good. Feels just, whew.
Yeah. So I want everybody to really know where you came from, and not just literally, but emotionally and spiritually, and just how your path has led you to this conversation today, right here.
Well,
I know you were born in 1951 in Savannah, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
And you were raised with brothers and sisters by Papa Ellis and Mama Vanna.
Yeah.
In a Southern Baptist church, which explains a lot about you.
Yeah, hallelujah. But Claxton, which I always tease about, at that time had one stoplight. And I always teasingly say one side of the sign said entering, the other side said leaving.
Right.
I was tiny, brother.
Right.
There were two partitions of Claxton. One was called Manassas, and the other called Claxton, about 55 miles outside of Savannah, inland. And I said it was so far back in the country, sunshine. The sun was hard to get back in there. But it was amazing, because that first 5 years of my life was very, I don't even know how to say, enthralling. It was very, I didn't know where my life was going to take me. And my mom was truly, really afraid, because she noticed a year into my birth that my eyes turned blue.
Right.
She found out later it was congenital glaucoma that took hold. Silver nitrate was a special eye drop that could have prevented it from taking hold. But back in the 50s, there were two hospitals. Yeah, white hospitals and black.
Yeah.
And those of you who might see us on the screen, you might imagine what I went to.
Yeah.
Although I always say, when I sing different songs, like Elton John songs, I say, oh, I'm Elton John with a tan.
Right.
But the bottom line is so I went to the black hospital. They didn't know about silver nitrate. So at 5 years old, it was very fortuitous that my parents said, we need to take him somewhere where he can work on his, what I call now, interdependence, which meant getting an education so I wouldn't have to, quote unquote, sell brooms or make broom sticks, or so in dark rooms, developing pictures.
Right.
That's what it was for us at that time. They didn't know what to do with the visually impaired,
right,
or those who really would lose their sight. Now, interestingly enough, at the time that I went, I had enough sight that I could walk around without a cane. I can guide others around. But the fact that they had the forethought to teach me that interdependence in Perkins School for the Blind,
right,
which still today teaches how to go forward, not just get stuck in one place. It opens up your mind to that prospect of all the things that you can do rather than what somebody else has to do for you.
And your parents had the great wisdom and perhaps courage to pack up the whole family and move to Boston.
That's absolutely right. And that's how we arrived in Boston. And I believe it was 1956 when I first went to Perkins. And what's very interesting too, brother, that was a school where you had day students. You also had what they call weekend students or week students who would stay Monday through Friday. That latter was me, because Roxbury was quite far from Watertown, Massachusetts. So it was some very lonely times. For a little kid. So I mean, I would want to go home, but realizing eventually it really did change my whole life. Learning how to gather my interdependence, how to, when I was feeling low down, how to pick myself up when there was no other friends to be there to pick me up. And it has to this day helped me to do whatever to hopefully help someone else see that light through that kind of darkness.
Which is a really big part of your mission and your path in life. Is to touch people through your music and through your spirit.
Well, you know what's interesting too, brother? Long before I started doing music, now my first inclination was I wanted to be an architect.
Oh.
So
You've been good at that.
Well, I love shapes.
Well, and you have a great imagination.
Well, thank you, my brother. I love putting things together. But my mom, the wisdom, a Georgia mom,
right?
She knew, and she said for the longest time, she's passed on now, but I came out of the womb dancing and singing. I said, "Ow, that must have hurt." But seriously, once I got into the music bug and how that really got started, at 14, I snuck into this club in Boston, had no business being there. Yes, she found out later. Moms always find out. But I saw the looks on the faces of the band as they were whipping the audience into shape.
Right, and you still had some partial sight.
I did. And Brother Terry, let me tell you, that changed my trajectory in life. I went home like a house of fire and I had a set of bongos that they had bought for me. I literally just taught myself everything I could on the bongos, put a third bongo on because I didn't have a real drum set, made my own version of a hi-hat. I taught myself how to play, the wash tub bass, where you take a wash tub and put a hole in it. I did all that because I had shop class, but I did that at home. I found some piece of tool and I put a string through it and took one of my mom's brooms and took the straws off and stretched it. Well, boy, what did you do to my broom? But I was playing that sucker, man. Playing it to every song on the radio I could think of until I got my hands on a real bass. And it was, the rest they say is crazy, magical history. Because I wanted to learn any instrument I could, especially the rhythm section. I tried playing saxophone. They said I was pretty good at it, but I didn't like the way it felt on my teeth.
Okay.
Or the reeds. So I said, well, I think I'll stick to the piano, the drums, and the basses and the guitars, and and learning how to, in my head, hear all those things. Right. Because I knew nobody was going to read my Braille music, so I figured I better learn how to play those different things. Right. and show them
So you could
parts.
express them.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And still to this day, I'm saying, okay, drummer, give it the...
Right. Try this.
the bass. Give me some of that. Or I'll grab the bass and show them, okay, this is that color I want.
Right.
And I love speaking in that, like non sequitur, talk about colors.
Right.
That's why I say I have a big old box of crayons.
Well, and for somebody who is sightless,
Yes.
which doesn't even seem like a good word to describe you because you have such a broad vision of life. But I love how you always speak in colors and descriptives and not just technical. It's emotional and visual.
Well, Ray and I, now assigned to Mr. Ray Charles' label, it was fabulous to work with him. We had many conversations about the red clay of Georgia.
Right.
And Pretty Ladies and Sunsets. He saw until he was 7. And I was fortunate to have my sight up until, 18, literally just before my 19th birthday is when I lost my good eye.
In a wrestling
accident. How freakish is that?
Right.
But it just goes to show you the turns and twists of life. We better have our focus or learning best how to walk in the center of the highs and lows of life. How about that? See, you're walking in the,
Can I get an amen?
No, 2 amens, because I'll tell you, brother, it has truly saved me.
Right.
Because in the lowest lows, when I sit down and start to play or sing, to lift up, and in the highest highs, to keep me centered, some sort of melody will come to me. And having written over 4,000 songs now, trying to be like you when I grow up.
Yeah. It's a lot of songs.
Just things, whether they be instrumentals or whether they be something like I'm working on a few different albums, including a Christmas one. But I mentioned one of the things I did is coming out in a new movie called Revival.
Which you're acting in.
Yeah,
right? Is that true?
Yeah. You see me for the first time.
Well, it's not the first time I've seen you acting because
No.
Gospel of Colonus.
No, but I
wiped the floor.
When I say first time, meaning no glasses on.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. So you're gonna see my
your beautiful eyes.
And it was interesting working with them on that movie,
right?
Because I had a song called "Once Upon an Evening Star." And I happened to play it at dear friend Harry Lennox, great, not only producer but actor. He 5 Heartbeats, but he also is in this thing called The Blacklist, one of my favorite shows. I love that show. But when he heard that song, he said, I'm working on this movie. That's got to be in the movie. So he talked to my wife manager, whom I lovingly call Wifeager. Layala, and she said, "Oh yeah, we can work that out." And hallelujah! And so they're working on it coming out, but Revival, y'all look for it because it's coming soon.
I can't wait to see that.
Oh, it'll blow your mind, bro. It was fun.
So Ellis, I've got a lot of questions for you.
I know you do. Let me see that paper. Wait.
And this one is, it's personal.
Yes, please.
But I know you won't mind answering it.
Nah.
What is, at this point, in your life, what has been the hardest part of being blind? And also, what has turned out to be the greatest gift?
That's a good thing. Well, if I really say there's a hardest part about being blind, I tell my lovely Layala all the time that, if I could see, I really would be driving all over the place.
Right.
So making sure that I have as much of my interdependence, even though I have to be around people all the time, when I go into songwriting mode, I tell her and others, if I'm quiet, don't take it personally. Because I'm inside myself, there's something that's coming through. And I know, as I said it earlier, I'm the vessel. So a vessel gets taken over by that heavenly spirit and things are flowing through let them flow through. I'll know when anything else is trying to take me another place where I do not want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So then I said, no, that's not for me to go there.
And by that you mean sadness?
Just sadness, or even something quote unquote negative, as they would call it, that would come upon me.
Sure.
It's like, no.
Dark.
Yeah. I recognize that color and not be afraid of it.
Right.
But at the same time, no, I don't have to go into it.
You want to stand in the light.
Yeah, exactly. And standing in the light, I can paint that dark color and hopefully help someone else see the light.
Right.
As opposed to drowning in that other thing, it's hard to get out of it. It's like a quicksand.
Yeah. So has there been a hidden gift perhaps in losing your sight?
Yeah, well,
how has that added to your life?
When I've had some hard times in my life, the music, now this is interesting, even when my record deal fell apart in 1979.
Which, by the way, you were signed to Ray Charles' label.
No.
Before that.
Yeah, I was signed to Ray Charles' label in 2001.
Right.
So I had many
You've got a lot of
along
albums
the
out.
way.
Yes.
And Ray, through his inimitable style, why the fool hadn't somebody told me about you? I need to kick a lot of fools. Yeah, so I'll put you don't need the censor button. I'll put it in there. But why not hear about you? He was so into grabbing the colors that I had to present to him and to the world. Mm-hmm. But before then, my brother, with the Ellis Hall group.
The Ellis Hall group started in 1973, I believe, back in Boston, right?
Yes, it was. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that was a funky time in Boston.
Oh, brother.
For live music.
73 through 78. And we opened up.
The club scene was just amazing.
It was amazing. And not only that, we opened up, check this out, everyone from the Spinners to Earth, Wind and Fire, the Cars, Taj Mahal, we opened up for him.
Right.
We opened, so it's eclectic. Many things. Even Aerosmith, they had wanted us to do something. We didn't get to do it with them. Mm-hmm. But I knew Steven Tyler and the other cats in the band, growing up in Boston. So but we got to, with the Ellis Hall group, play for, God bless her, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis and Rose Kennedy and other people. Even before I formed the Ellis Hall group, I got to meet early in my life Miss Helen Keller, and then I sang for her funeral.
I wanted to talk to you about that because I know Helen Keller was a friend of yours. You met her. Did you meet her at Perkins?
Yeah, I met her at Perkins. I wouldn't say we became friends because I was younger, way younger than her. But what it was, well, I'll tell you this.
Yes.
When she first met me, she gave me a big old hug, and she signed it to her person. He's a lovely young boy. Uh-huh. And so they asked me with the choir in 1968 when she passed. And it was my first time on an airplane.
Wow.
And I didn't understand the complete situation because with my bud Russell, I kept saying, do you realize we're going to New York? We're going to Hendrix country. That was my excitement. And now it was fun to sing for her.
Yeah.
And going to St. Patrick's Cathedral, that organ, my brother, I still have a certain dent in my esophagus.
Right.
Because all those pipes got into every bit of my heart and soul. Mm-hmm. And singing for her with, we had like 8 of us singing. And it was amazing. But I knew once the music bug got me, there was no turning around. And like I was saying earlier, even 1979, when everything fell apart from my record deal that was supposed to happen, it was actually to CBS Records. And even Earth, Wind and Fire, some of the horns played on the record, and the record fell apart, and my marriage at the time fell apart. So it was tough times.
Yeah.
And I came back, and I went into a friend of mine. He had a room at his house, And I sat in that room literally for a week. Barely spoke to anyone, just, said perfunctory highs and this and that. Wrote a lot of songs, but on top of that, just said, okay, if I'm going to be in this, I need to deal with the highs and lows and keep myself centered. My faith, when people ask me about my faith, I call myself spiritual more than religious because I don't follow any one religion. I do, however, follow that God-living spirit. It's always with me. I always feel it. I always get notifications when I might be stepping on a path that I shouldn't continue down. And I do have the free choice to listen, and I do my best to listen. Now, if I fall, I'll do my best to wipe myself off and get back up. And I'm still standing.
Well, I think that's one of the things that your mom and dad really instilled in you.
Well, keep your life straight ahead wasn't written by accident.
You're right.
Come on now. Yeah.
I know that you believe in mentoring, and you've had some wonderful mentors. And I wanted to ask you about your vocal coach when you were a kid, who's Nat King Cole's best friend. And he told you that he could coach you technically, but to be really great, something must unlock within you.
See, you did your homework.
Yeah.
His name was Clay Douglas. There was only, I call us flies in the milk bowl. There were only 3 of us in that school. It was a mostly white school. My piano teacher, Henry Santos, was black. Clay Douglas.
By the way, that's like just one more example of how visual you are when you tell a story.
Yeah.
Flies in the milk bowl. Okay.
That's right.
Continue.
Yeah, well, and Clay Douglas, also black.
Right.
And he kept telling me, he says, you're young, you want to do all, because I wanted to do all these licks and this and that and the other thing, and not even think about studying. He says, I can technically and will technically teach you how to sing, but it's going to take you to unlock the soul in you. And at 17, I just wanted to get to the licks and that. And then it wasn't till later when I heard Donny Hathaway sing Thank You, Master. And I didn't want to imitate it. I didn't want to emulate it. I wanted to figure out how I could celebrate my soul as he celebrated his. Because, I grew up listening to Stevie and Jackie Wilson and Sam Cooke. Loved all of that vibe, and recognized, because I listen, one thing's for sure is I listen to everything. From Patti Page to just so many people who just sang. I listened to Elvis. Elvis wanted to study that soul. That's how he would let it in.
Right.
And my God, Buddy Holly, he and Sam Cooke were dear friends. A lot of folks didn't know that. They would go to soul clubs together and listen. Buddy would listen to all these different things. And so I'm just saying, the bottom line is for me to bring out the best of me. And dear Henry Santos, he's still with us, God bless him. And he has come to see some of my symphony shows. And he cried like a baby because he recognized that I was playing my piano like I meant it and playing my guitar or anything else he saw. So that was the greatest thrill, is to have him come, be a special guest. And Clay Douglas, who passed on earlier, he never got to see me play. Hopefully he got to see some of the things as I exploded with the Ellis Hall group.
Right.
We, without a record deal, were all over the place. Hallelujah.
Yeah. With our friend Michael Thompson.
Yeah.
Playing guitar.
Michael Thompson. Yeah, chicken picking madman.
Let's talk about business for a second.
Please.
Because you talk about having had a major record deal and losing it.
Yes, sir.
And the what that felt like to get kicked to the ground, essentially. And you talked about Leala, your wife, being your manager. And what's the best part of being in a family business right now and running it as a couple?
That's a great question. I'll tell you what the best thing is is, first of all, the true lesson of even if we feel something is awry that we might argue about, we respect each other enough to say, okay, not one doesn't have to be right, one doesn't have to be wrong. The love will come through. We'll see what happens. But our foundation being strong of spreading what I call this music ministry around the world is our mission.
Right.
And she, having been a manager before, and she can also sing too. Yeah, you'll see some things. Yeah, watch out. You'll hear some things. But that's another story. We'll get into that because she's going to come back and be interviewed by you.
Good.
Or me. Maybe.
There you go. Making it with Ellis Hall. Right here.
One on each side. No, it's going to be, very interesting to see that she has been branding my name, the Ellis Hall name.
Yeah.
And, the proof is in the pudding, as my mom used to say, from Georgia.
That's the first thing that I remember happening when you first two got together as a couple.
Yes.
And also started working together was branding.
Yes.
It was a word that I heard every time we had a conversation.
Yes.
And it's been done beautifully.
Well,
it's
let us hear, brother. Look at this.
Right. But it's also gotten you traveling the world, doing symphonic dates as well as continuing to play with your band.
That's right.
And do solo shows. And and it's actually really thrilling because with the symphony you do the Ray Charles catalog.
Yeah.
But you also
go ahead.
But you have another symphonic project that you do as well.
We do the Ray Charles, Ellis Hall presents Ray Charles, Motown and Beyond, or it's actually called Ellis Hall presents Ray, Motown and Beyond.
Got it.
And, when we get people singing like Ain't No Mountain High Enough, or as a California Raisin, I heard it through the grapevine.
Yeah.
Nothing like hearing thousands of people sing, heard it through the grapevine.
Which, by the way, if you don't know, Ellis was the California Raisin.
That's it.
One of many credits.
Hey, that's right. And, proud of it. And I tell folks all the time, only in the music business can you go from being a teenage nut to a singing rooster to a freaking California Raisin.
Right. One of the things that I appreciate about you, of many things, is that with all of the credits that you have, you never really spend a lot of time looking back. You look at present and towards where you're going next.
Yes.
And you don't disregard all of the wonderful experiences and opportunities that you have created and have happened for you, but you're always looking forward.
Well, the recognition of where you came from, that's always going to be, because that's a part of life, and that's that visionary process. That helps you keep readjusting and reevaluating. And when I'm in my studio just playing a simple thing on the piano or a simple thing on the guitar or my bass, or even simply if I'm just playing to some of the new things on the radio.
On the radio, right.
Just helping me to say, okay, wow, that was in and I enjoyed that. And now I'm taking it to a new space. And it helps me to, I call lovingly, derange as opposed to rearrange.
Right,
I'm deranging it.
Right. Reconstructing. I want to ask you sort of a general question, but I'm going to name just a quick list of some of the artists that you've worked with.
Oh, yeah.
And ask you a general question about that.
Please.
Kenny G, George Benson, James Taylor, Patti LaBelle, Bobby Womack, Bobby Blue Bland, Tower Power, of course.
Yeah.
Donny Hathaway.
Yes.
Donny Osmond, David Hasselhoff, Vince Gill, David Cassidy, Queen Latifah, Maurice White, Stevie Wonder, Herbie Hancock, George Duke, Sheila E., and Billy Preston.
But you left out Toby Keith.
and Toby Keith. I left out a lot of people because it's only an hour show.
I'm kidding. I'm messing around with you.
My question is, of all of these amazing, wonderful artists that you've worked with, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned from collaborating with artists like these people?
I'll tell you, working with Maurice White, you truly, because that word genius gets thrown around a lot.
Right.
You recognize when you're in the studio with a intensely inspirational person like Maurice White, you recognize, you see why Earth, Wind, and Fire was his baby. Mm-hmm. You see why, and he took all of that stuff that was in him from having worked with Ramsey Lewis he played drums with him, taking that and coming to Get Away, different songs that they've written over the years. You see all that. And then, of course, sharing time whenever possible with my dear friend George Benson.
Right.
The chicken picking madman he is.
Isn't he?
Oh, my God. And, working and, hanging out with Miss Patti LaBelle. The first time that she met me, she was doing a show, and I believe it was at the Hollywood Bowl. I may be incorrect on that. It might be the Greek Theater, but one of the big theaters. One of my friends decided they were going to tell her I was in the audience. I'd done my stint with Tower of Power and stuff. So she has this thing where she'll come and she'll say, okay, there's somebody in the audience. She came and tapped me on the shoulder and brought me on stage. And she had over 18,000 people in that particular place. And I got them all calling her name and singing and stuff. And she practically dropped on the floor when I started singing. She said, who are you?
Right.
Somebody record deal. You need to sign this guy. Right away, she was going on. And I was laughing about it because I say, and people don't know until they know. And ever since then, she's been at parties that I've sung at, and she said, shut up and let Ellis is singing. Let him sing. And still to this day, we haven't been in touch in a while, but, I'm going to talk to her about things, especially about my dear, dear friend, Andy Weiner, who used to be the musical director for Patti.
Right.
I want to talk to her about that. But just celebrating friends who have passed and friends who are still with us. But having said that, working and singing for her, singing for George, singing for all these people who don't know, what I do or have heard and then seriously get it put in their face. It's like, my God, because again, I say I'm the vessel.
Right.
So
yeah,
if you're on stage with me and you're coming from a fear base, you're going to pack up your things and go home.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're coming from that space of, we share this stage, let's celebrate. We're going to go to the highest high and, might stand on chairs or something. That's what's going to happen.
Well, let's do a little celebrating right now.
Come on.
Would you sing a little something for me? I just want to hear you sing and play.
Oh, let's see what
anything.
See. Yeah.
Just give me a little sample.
Yeah. Let's go.
Touch of
let's
things.
go. I'll do a little bit of Ray. How about that? Something like that. Come on. Let me tell you about a girl, no. She gave my baby and she didn't dance. Every border for the soda comes out. And bring me coffee and my favorite cause one note. One note. Hallelujah, the lover so with a feeling down, I need a friend. Just take me to the end. Everybody asks for how I know. That's why they tell the coach to told me so. That's why I know. Why no, hallelujah, the lover. So wait a minute. When I call on the telephone and tell them that I'm all alone, by the time I got my phone, I hear, I'm not door. When the sun goes down, and I saw the terrors all around. Yes, it's me. Lord.
Everything. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about, what was it like when you played for Nelson Mandela when you were in Johannesburg?
Oh,
yeah.
Man. You know, what's interesting, you don't know how the pieces of the puzzle are going to come together when you're playing for someone or singing for someone. He parted his security for me to meet him at his house. I love meeting everyone,
right.
But there are certain people who have been lights for this world. One of them is fabulous Miss Oprah. And her and Gail and myself sitting around the piano singing old soul songs like Have You Seen Her by the Shy Lights.
Yeah.
That stuff you don't forget. Meeting Nelson Mandela and meeting Miss Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. You know, meeting these people, and they recognize that you are this vessel that the light is coming through. That is, wow.
Right, and what they recognize is not your gift, but the gift that you were able to have come through you.
Yeah, a gift that I'm able to manifest.
Right.
And when I'm singing or playing, you know, it's like, hold on tight. You know, because it's just, you know, this is one of the songs, I'll sing a little bit of it, that Nelson Mandela got to hear. Let's go to here. There we go. Let me do this right here. I've got so many notes.
Little B3. Oh, there you go.
Something like this. Jonestown, I know you're so far away. Why should I care what's going on with you today? I've heard somewhere in a dream the world won't come together through indecencies. Life won't pass unaware when we choose simpler not to care. The trials of this world we all share. I say, Israel to Palestine, so far away. Why should I care what's going on with you today? I've heard somewhere in a dream the world won't come together through indignities. Hallelujah. Life won't pass unaware when we choose simpler not to care. The trials of this world we all share. From Parkland, yes, to LA, to St. Paul. One more thing I got to say. America's so close and yet so far away. Why should I care what's going on with you today? I've heard somewhere, had it in our dream, if we don't come together, common tragedy is what will be. When love is all we need, and understanding life won't pass unaware. When we choose simply not to care, this affair we always share. The trials of this world we all share. Mercy.
Yeah. Parkland.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My hometown.
That's your
Thank you
hometown.
for, yeah, Miami. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're getting to the end of our show, and I know we're going to close the show with you playing guitar, the two of us playing together, which I always love doing. But I want to ask you my closing questions that I ask all of my guests.
Please.
The first is a two-part question. What does making it mean to you both personally and professionally, since the show is called Making It? And also, can you share 3 tips for success that have driven your career?
I'm so confused. No.
Making it.
You know, making it for me is the music that I have inside to go not just worldwide, not just universal, but seriously, multiversal. The vibrations to reach out and touch, just like, you know, when they put up telescopes, they may see light. When they put up other things, they may hear the sounds from way off distant galaxies. May my music, may that positive intenseness bring someone to that light or their version of that light that I feel. and you know, if I have to give tips to anyone, sing, play, or do whatever you're going to do in the positive vernacular to let them know you're here, and when you're not here, hopefully that thing you've done will resonate with them for the rest of their lives.
Beautifully
Understand?
said. Beautifully said. Yeah. My final question, Ellis, before we get back to music and closing our show. At this point of your life, with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self?
Recognize patience is the key. Don't have to have everything right now. But when it does, be ready for that moment. Celebrate that moment. Every moment, you know, live every moment like it's your last time on earth. And when I'm playing or singing or whatever, if it's decided that the Father Spirit, it's time for me to go home, I'll have said, hopefully, life well lived and song well sung.
Having said that, why don't we play a little guitar and close the show out?
Can I grab this here?
Yes, sir.
I act like I got no proof.
Everybody go to ellishall.com. We've got all the websites. Will be up on Enter Talk Radio's page. And you can find out all things Ellis, including all the upcoming symphonic performances, local shows at Vibrato. Coming up in Los Angeles, and everything's listed, so we will give you those dates.
In Toledo, holy Toledo.
This is one of my favorite of your songs, and it's called
Girl, You're Not in Kansas Anymore.
That's right.
So, and by the way, this guitar, it's called a Yamaha Trans guitar, and I call her La La Babe, named after my darling. My darling Layala, that's right. So, start out with the drums. Oh, yeah. Storytelling time about a friend of mine, all right. Standing by the highway, gonna do it her way, hitching a ride on anything out of town. She said, lay by. blossom. Wait a minute. You think the grass is greener, but life is cycles, green and brown. Survival of the fittest, yeah. When the chips are down, innocent Jason Griggs. Welcome to the world beyond your door. Rainbows and durability. Girl, you're not in Kansas anymore. I don't think you heard me. I'll take your time, Terry. Wait a minute. Arriving in the city, ugliness and pretty. There's a truth and lies called the promised land. Where would she stand? Cynical indifference, testing her commitment, sex sells. Does she wanna play the game? It's conscious of her pain. Oh, scary revelation. What you see ain't always right. Chance to make it better. Every day in life. Innocent Jason Griggs. Welcome to the world beyond your door. Rainbows and durability. Girl, you're not in Kansas anymore. Boom City hero with skin. Plus I can never seem to fall. Girl, you're not in Kansas. Whirling around and around on the wind of mystery. Time will work it out if only we leave. Can I play my guitar? Yeah. I don't think you heard me. I said, yes, sir. Woo! Hey, innocent Jason Griggs. Welcome to the world beyond your door. Rainbows and durability. You're not in Kansas. Innocent Jason Griggs. Just when you thought you knew the score. Rainbows and durability. Wait a minute. Girl, you're not. Sharks in the water. Watch for you to die. You're not in Quick man, girl, you're not in Kansas anymore.
Ellis Hall, thank you so much for spending the
Thank
hour
you,
with me. I
Terry.
love you and
Love you too, my friend.
appreciate you. See y'all next week.